All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're going to be tackling something that can be pretty scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be looking at this article called Six Strategies to Overcome the Fear of Failure and Find Freedom.
Okay.
And it's from this blog called A Point of Light, which focuses mostly on, personal development,
Right.
mindset, that kind of thing.
Yeah, mindset's huge.
Yeah. And, we all deal with this fear of failure. It's a totally normal human thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're hoping to break down sort of why it happens and then give you guys listening some actual strategies and tools you can use to kind of, work through it.
Yeah, for sure, because it can feel like this big, scary monster, right?
Yeah, it really can.
But we don't have to let it win.
Yeah, exactly. We can take control.
Take back the power.
So first of all, what even is this fear of failure thing?
Right.
So the article talks about it as like this apprehension about making mistakes, not meeting expectations. Basically not being good enough.
Right, and isn't it funny how often it's like totally irrational?
Oh, yeah.
It's like it stops us from going after the things that we actually want.
Right. Have you ever, felt that hesitation?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Because of what could go wrong.
What if?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it comes from, like you said, it's irrational.
Yeah.
It's not really based on anything concrete.
It's like our brains are kind of misinterpreting challenges as these big threats,
Yeah.
instead of like an opportunity to grow, which it really is.
Right.
But yeah, it's like our brain is saying like, oh, danger, abort mission.
Like a big red button.
Exactly. And then boom, we're stuck, right?
Back in our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Even though we want to be out there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like almost our brains are playing this dramatic movie in our heads.
Oh, yeah.
With worst case scenarios.
Yes. And we get so caught up in the what ifs,
And then we just freeze up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the article connects this fear to things like perfectionism.
Of
Yes.
course.
Fear of judgment.
Which, let's be honest, most of us struggle with, at least a little bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, low self-esteem, which is also very common.
Right. So if you already are like, I need everything to be perfect,
Yeah.
then of course putting yourself out there is going to be terrifying.
Absolutely. It just amplifies everything, right?
Yeah. And if you're worried about what other people are thinking.
Yeah, you're constantly seeking validation from external sources.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Instead of looking within.
And it's so easy to get caught up in that.
It is. But the thing is, you're not alone.
Right.
Like so many people deal with these things.
Yeah.
It's truly a shared human experience.
Well, that's good to hear.
It is.
Yeah. So you know what else I thought was really helpful?
What's that?
The author of the article actually talks about her own experiences.
Oh, wow. So she gets personal.
Yeah, she gets really personal and talks about how, she had this fear of failure as a kid,
Uh-huh.
and it stopped her from making friends.
Oh,
And then even later in life, it stopped her from applying for jobs.
it's really relatable,
It is, yeah.
Like even people who write about these things struggle with it.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
just shows you that it can be overcome.
Exactly. It's not a life sentence.
Right. And she brings up this really interesting concept
Okay.
called the cost of avoiding failure.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, she says that sometimes that regret of not doing something
Yeah.
can be worse than the failure itself.
Oh, I can definitely see that.
Like looking back and be like, man, I really wish I had tried.
Totally.
I wish I had taken that chance.
Yeah, it's like that fear keeps us stuck in this loop of inaction, and then we end up with all these what ifs and regrets.
Right. And there's a story in the article.
Oh, really?
Yeah. About this woman who always wanted to open a bakery.
Ah, that's a cute dream.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But she let fear stop her.
Oh,
She stayed at her corporate job for years.
wow.
And by the time she finally got the courage to quit and actually pursue her dream, she was in her late 50s.
Oh, my God.
And she was like, I wish I had done this 20 years ago.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And it just makes you think, what dreams are we all putting on hold because of fear?
It's a good question to ask ourselves for sure.
Right. What are we missing out on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to shift that? You know?
How do we rewrite that script?
Like, what are the tools we can use to start taking control?
Yeah, because we don't want fear to be the director of our lives, right?
Absolutely not. We want to be in charge.
So what does the article suggest?
Well, one of the most important things is to shift our focus
Okay.
away from just the outcome
Uh-huh.
and more towards the process.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
So instead of getting fixated on needing everything to be perfect
Right.
or needing everyone's approval, you focus on the things that you can actually control, like your effort,
Right.
your attitude, the steps you're taking.
So it's not worrying about whether I win the Grammy,
Right.
but it's about enjoying playing the guitar.
Exactly, like enjoying those jam sessions along the way.
Right.
And this actually ties into this concept called growth mindset.
Okay, I've heard of that.
So it's this idea that instead of seeing your abilities as fixed,
Right.
you believe that they can be developed through hard work and dedication.
So instead of saying, I'm not a math person,
Exactly.
you say, I'm learning to be a math person.
Yes. And every experience, every challenge becomes a chance to learn and grow.
I love that.
Right.
So we're shifting our focus from the destination to the journey.
Exactly. And the article really emphasizes that even if you don't hit the exact target you're aiming for, you've still gained valuable experience and knowledge along the way.
Right. Okay, so that makes sense. But what about, like, when things don't go our way?
Yeah.
What about those inevitable setbacks?
Right. Because those are going to happen.
Right. How do we deal with those without, like, spiraling into self-doubt?
That's a great question. And the article suggests we try to embrace failure as a teacher.
Okay.
So instead of seeing it as the opposite of success, we can start to see it as a stepping stone towards success.
Okay, so instead of like, oof, I messed up, it's okay. What can I learn from this?
Exactly. You got it. And remember that famous Thomas Edison quote?
Oh, yeah?
I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Right.
He was all about experimenting.
Yeah.
And each quote-unquote failure
Yeah.
brought him closer to that light bulb moment.
It's funny you say that because I remember this time I totally bombed an audition for a play.
Oh, no.
I was so nervous, like my voice was shaky. I forgot my lines.
Oh, it's the worst.
It was rough. But afterwards, I realized I was focusing too much on what the judges were thinking
Right.
instead of just connecting with the character.
Yeah.
So for the next audition, I just focused on my preparation, really connecting with the material. And I actually ended up getting a lead role.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
You turn that setback into a springboard for growth.
exactly. And it really taught me the power of resilience
Yes.
and self-compassion, which the article also talks about.
Yeah. Those are so important.
Can you talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah. So resilience is basically that ability to bounce back from setbacks.
Okay.
Like you dust yourself off and you keep going.
Right, you don't give up.
Exactly. And self-compassion is about treating yourself with kindness, especially when you make mistakes.
Right, it's like you wouldn't talk to your friend the way you talk to yourself sometimes.
So true. It's about being your own best friend.
Yeah.
You know, offering support and encouragement instead of criticism.
Yeah.
And the article reminds us that, everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Everyone faces rejection. It's part of being human.
It's like nobody's perfect.
No one is perfect.
We're all just figuring things out.
Exactly. And I love this point the article makes. It says, like, no one else is replaying our failures in their heads like we are.
Oh, that's so true.
They're too busy thinking about their own lives.
Right, it's like we're putting on this performance
Yeah.
for an audience that isn't even there.
Exactly. And that's where self-compassion is so powerful. It allows us to acknowledge our mistakes without beating ourselves up.
Yeah.
We can learn from them and move forward.
So we're shifting our focus.
Yes.
We're embracing failure as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
We're cultivating resilience and self-compassion.
That's right.
What else can we do to actually go after our goals?
Well, the article talks about setting realistic goals
Okay.
because unrealistic expectations can really set us up for feeling overwhelmed. Like if
Well,
we're always striving for perfection or trying to do too much too quickly.
yeah, we're going to burn out.
Yeah, exactly. We're more likely to give up.
It's like trying to climb Mount Everest without any training.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So the article suggests breaking down those big, daunting goals
Right.
into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
No one achieves massive success overnight.
Right.
It takes time, patience, consistent effort.
I think that's a great takeaway for listeners.
Yeah.
Like if you have a goal that you're maybe feeling a little intimidated by, think about how you can break it down into smaller steps. What's that first thing you can do today to move towards that goal?
Yeah, like what's one tiny action you can take
Right.
that will get you closer?
Yeah.
And breaking it down, like that helps build momentum
Mm.
and confidence.
And then you can celebrate those little wins along the way.
Exactly. Those little wins are so important.
Okay, so we've talked about shifting our focus,
Yes.
embracing failure, building resilience, setting realistic goals.
Yeah.
But how do we actually start taking action
Right.
when fear is like holding us back?
Well, that's where the magic happens.
Okay.
The article is very clear about this.
Okay.
Action, even in small steps, is the antidote to fear.
Okay, so we don't have to wait until we feel totally fearless
No, not at all.
to start.
Often the fear actually lessens as we take those first steps.
Oh, that's good to know.
And remember, progress isn't always linear.
Right.
There will be setbacks, but we can learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And adjust our course.
So it's okay if things don't go perfectly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're allowed to make mistakes.
Mistakes are part of the learning process.
Okay, so we're taking action. We're learning as we go.
Yes.
Is there anything else we can do to support ourselves in this?
Yeah, absolutely. The article talks about seeking support and learning from others.
Okay.
So this could be connecting with friends, family mentors.
Right.
Anyone who can offer encouragement and guidance.
Like having a good support system.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Having a team of cheerleaders in your corner.
You know what else the article says?
What's that?
Watch out for those, like, perfect people on social media.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually just a highlight reel.
So true. It's not the full story.
Right, so it's not a fair comparison.
No, not at all.
So if social media is not the best place to go, where should we go?
Well, the article suggests exploring resources like books, podcasts, maybe even support groups focused on your goals.
Yeah.
There's a wealth of knowledge and experience out there.
Right.
And connecting with people who face similar challenges can be so empowering.
Okay, so we're taking action, learning from setbacks,
Yes.
finding support. But what about those moments when fear creeps back in?
Yeah.
Even when we know we should go for it.
That's a tough one. But here's a suggestion that might seem a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
Lean into the fear a bit.
Wait, what?
I know it sounds crazy.
Intentionally do things that scare us.
Yeah, but hear me out.
Okay.
I'm not saying like recklessly jump into dangerous situations.
Good.
It's more about choosing to do things that are a little uncomfortable,
All right.
that push you a little outside your comfort zone.
Okay.
The idea is to expose yourself to that feeling of discomfort, but in a controlled environment.
Right.
So you can build up your tolerance for it.
So instead of like avoiding public speaking at all costs,
Yeah.
I could volunteer to present at a team meeting.
Exactly. By gradually exposing yourself to those situations, you're desensitizing yourself to the fear.
So the more we face it, the less power it has over us.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're taking back the control.
So we're taking action, learning from setbacks, stepping outside our comfort zones.
Yes.
Finding support.
Uh-huh. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Is there anything else we can do to kind of solidify this like fear-fighting mindset?
One of the most powerful things you can do is to change your focus
Okay.
from what you don't want to happen to what you do want to achieve.
So instead of thinking, I don't want to mess this up,
Yeah,
I could think I want to deliver a killer presentation
exactly.
that's going to inspire my team.
By focusing on the positive outcome,
Right.
you're shifting your energy and attention towards what you want to create
Right.
rather than what you're afraid of.
So fear is what we don't want,
Yeah.
but confidence is what we do want.
Exactly. And when you focus on what you do want,
Yeah.
you start to attract more of it into your life.
Okay.
It's like putting out a beacon to the universe,
I like that.
saying, this is what I'm aiming for.
This is feeling less like overcoming fear and more like creating a life we love.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear entirely.
Okay.
That's unrealistic.
Right.
It's about learning to manage it,
Good.
to use it as fuel, and to keep moving forward.
This has been so insightful.
It's been a great conversation.
We've covered so much from, the psychology of fear to practical strategies,
All connected.
but we're not done yet.
No, we've got more to explore.
There's a few more nuggets of wisdom to uncover in our deep dive.
That's right. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Okay, so we're back.
Back at it.
Ready to keep diving into this
Yep.
fear of failure stuff?
Fearless mindset. Here we come.
Yeah. So I think we left off talking about, taking action, but I feel like there's still some missing pieces.
Oh, for sure. There's always more to learn.
Yeah. Like, how do we really, celebrate those wins?
Yes, celebrating is so important.
Okay, so tell me about that.
So often we get so caught up in what we haven't done yet
Right.
that we forget to acknowledge how far we've already come.
Yeah. It's so easy to focus on, what's next?
Exactly. And celebrating those wins, no matter how small, it's like giving ourselves a high five.
Like we did something.
Yes, it reinforces that we are capable,
Okay.
that we're making progress.
And I feel like it probably helps build momentum, too.
Absolutely. Like, think about it. If you were training for a marathon
Okay.
and you only focused on the finish line,
Right.
you might get discouraged.
Yeah.
But if you celebrate each mile marker, each hill you conquer,
Yeah.
you're going to feel more motivated to keep going.
So it's like those little bursts of energy to keep us going.
Exactly. Those little celebrations can make a big difference.
Okay. So we're taking action.
Yes.
We're learning from setbacks. We're finding support. We're celebrating wins.
It all works together.
Is there anything else we can do to kind of embrace this, fearless mindset?
Well, here's a reminder that I find really helpful.
Okay.
And it comes straight from the article.
Right.
Failure is not the opposite of success.
Yeah.
It's part of the journey.
I love that.
It really takes the pressure off, right?
It does.
Like, we're allowed to stumble, to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we're not on the right track.
Like it's part of the process.
Exactly. Think about any successful person you admire.
Mm-hmm.
An athlete, an entrepreneur, an artist.
Right.
They've all faced setbacks. They've all had to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
That's what helped them grow.
So it's like if we're not willing to fail,
Yeah.
we're not really willing to truly live.
You got it. And the article reminds us that the cost of avoiding failure
Yeah.
is often worse than failing itself.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that mean?
So if we let fear dictate our choices,
Okay.
we might miss out on amazing opportunities for growth,
Right.
learning, even joy.
So it's better to try and maybe not succeed
Yeah.
than to not try at all.
In many cases, yes, because even if we don't hit that bullseye every time, we're gaining experience. We're learning new skills.
Building resilience.
Exactly. And who knows, that failure might lead us down a path that's even more fulfilling than we ever imagined.
Wow, I love that.
Right. It's all about perspective.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away?
I want them to ask themselves this.
Okay.
What's one small step I can take this week to face a fear?
Okay.
To step outside my comfort zone?
Yeah.
To move closer to a goal that feels a little bit scary?
It could be anything.
Anything at all, just one small step.
I have a feeling our listeners are already brainstorming ideas.
I hope so. Remember, you are capable of incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let fear hold you back from pursuing your dreams.
I love that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, you've got this.
We believe in you.
Okay, so we're back, ready for part 3.
More deep diving.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up our deep dive into conquering this fear of failure thing. I think we've talked about a lot of practical strategies, but I'm ready for like the final dose of inspiration.
All right, I've got one more for you.
Okay.
And it's something that I think often gets overlooked.
Okay.
Celebrating our wins,
Oh, yeah.
both big and small.
That's so true. It's like we get so focused on what's next,
Yeah.
what we haven't done yet,
Exactly.
that we forget to actually acknowledge how far we've come.
Totally. And celebrating those wins, no matter how tiny,
Yeah.
it's like giving ourselves a high five.
Right.
It reinforces that we are capable, that we're making progress.
You know, I bet it helps build momentum too.
Oh, absolutely. It's like if you were training for a marathon
Okay.
and you only focused on the finish line,
Mm-hmm.
you might get discouraged.
Yeah, totally.
But if you celebrate each mile marker, each hill you conquer,
Yeah.
you're going to feel so much more motivated to keep going.
Right. So it's like those little bursts of energy along the way.
Exactly. Those celebrations can make a huge difference.
Okay. So we're taking action. We're learning from setbacks.
Yes.
We're finding support. We're celebrating wins.
It's all coming together.
Any final thoughts to really help us embrace this like fearless mindset?
Here's a reminder that has really helped me,
Okay.
and it comes straight from the article.
Right.
Failure is not the opposite of success.
Okay.
It's part of the journey.
Oh, I like that.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Like, we're allowed to stumble.
Right.
We're allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we're not on the right track.
Right. It's just part of the process.
Exactly. Think about any successful person you admire. An athlete, an entrepreneur, an artist.
Yeah.
They've all faced setbacks.
Right.
They've all had to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
That's what helped them grow and achieve their goals.
Right. And it's like if we're not willing to fail,
Yeah.
then we're not really willing to truly live, are we?
That's a great way to put it. And remember what we talked about before.
Yeah.
The cost of avoiding failure
Yeah.
is often worse than failing itself.
Wow, that's deep.
It is, right?
Yeah. What does it actually mean?
So if we let fear control us,
Okay.
we might miss out on amazing opportunities for
Yeah.
growth, for learning, for joy even.
So it's really better to try
Yeah.
and maybe not succeed than to not try at all.
In many cases, yes, because even if we don't hit that bullseye every time,
Right.
we're still gaining experience. We're learning new skills. We're building resilience.
And who knows, maybe that quote-unquote failure will actually lead us down a path
Yeah.
that's even better.
Exactly. It's all about perspective.
Okay, so final thoughts as we wrap up this deep dive.
All right, I want our listeners to leave with this question.
Okay.
What's one small step you can take this week
Mm-hmm.
to face a fear, to step outside your comfort zone, to
Yeah.
move closer to a goal that feels maybe a little bit scary?
That's a great question to think about.
Yeah, it could be anything, just one small action.
Yeah. And, you know, I have a feeling some of our listeners are already brainstorming.
I hope so. Remember, you are capable of amazing things. Don't let fear hold you back.
I love that. Well, this has been an incredible conversation.
It really has.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Remember, you've got this.
We believe in you.